So today we're going to use one of the Kirigami cards. This is the Weaver. Right, this is a single piece that's been cut, twisted, and folded to create this really neat weaving pattern. Right, this is used one of these special bicycle gold foil cards today. Also, you can link a ring to one of these. Right, much easier than the Infinity Link when it comes to linking this because it's all cut apart. To a spectator's eye, it looks just as impossible for some reason. Because if you don't know the concept behind folding this card, then it's not going to make sense to you. But this would be a fun one to put in a bottle, right? So card in the bottle. The method I'm going to show you works for anything you want to put in the bottle with respect to the Kirigami cards or Infinity Link. What it requires is patience and having a neck where the diameter of this will accommodate the ring. This is the most important part. If this doesn't fit the ring, you cannot put the ring in there. Actually, you can put the ring in there, but your spectator is not going to be happy about it because you're going to deform the ring. So that said, always test that the ring will fit inside. Right, and this one I've already checked out. The ring goes inside, so it means we can use it. So here I have my piece of straight wire. Right, this was from a spool of wire, and you might say that looks incredibly straight. Well, if you want to make a piece of straight wire out of a spool of wire, right, it's very simple to do. All we do is put this under rotational tension, right? So the outside of the whole wire is now under tension. We did that by sticking the curved piece of wire into a drill. Let me show you real quick. So here I have a piece of curved wire that I took off this spool. And I got this wire, it was 50 cents at Harbor Freight. Right? So what I like to do is just bend the end over so I have this little eyelet. And I place this into the chuck of the drill. And I tighten it down. Right? So we still have the curved wire. I'll grab the end of it with some pliers. And then I'll just let it spin for a moment. Right? And you see that begins to straighten from one end to the other real quick. Don't overdo it because the wire will snap and it could go into your eye. Now I have a straight piece of wire that I can use to attach to my card. What we're going to do is pass the wire through the card. Right? And we want to be very gentle with this because, this is a paper card. This is metal wire. If we start yanking on it aggressively, we're going to tear the card and then your illusion's not going to work. So I will find a place that's going to be strong enough to hold the wire. Right? And I fold the wire in a way that it will hold the card. Right? So I've just put this bend in here. Put this back through slot. Any slot, I'm going to use the corner because I think this will look neat just being on the corner like this. Right? Now I'm going to very carefully wrap the short end of this wire around itself. Right, and as I do this, I'm securing the wire that's touching the card. I'm holding it very firmly because as I twist this, I don't want the wire to rotate and begin to tear the card. You're going to hold that very firmly between your fingers. Now you don't need to do this many wraps around this. I just do it for aesthetics. If people think that I did all of this inside the bottle, like that's just a little psychological subtlety of like, how did they twist that around itself while inside the bottle? That would have to be very difficult. I take my wire cutters and trim off the edge, right? So I don't have any extra wire hanging off. And now I'm gonna put this in the bottle, right? Obviously, this doesn't fit, but this is a topology thing. And as you recall, topology is about bending your geometry. So if we bend our geometry, right, here I have a flat card. If I bend it this way, right, it has a different geometry. Right, and then most of this, we're going to do bending. We're not going to do any folding. We're not going to do any creasing to the card. We're going to take our time because that is key to successfully getting one of these inside a bottle with the least amount of deformation possible to the card. So the ring, right, we can't bend that. I mean, we could, but we're not going to bend it, right? We're going to bend our card around the ring, right? So just very slowly and carefully. And we're just going to bend this card so that the edges of it fit the inside of the neck of the bottle, right? And I'm going to guide everything through there very carefully, very carefully. Anytime you're putting something in a bottle, you're doing an impossible bottle, it's all about patience. The moment you become impatient is when you make a mistake. And trust me, I'm doing this in a single take. I made no mistakes. All right. As we see, we've got the card in the bottle with our ring attached to it already, right? But there's a little deformation, right? If we can see that through the glass, right? See that there's the curve in the card. It's just gone through the trauma of being shoved through this tiny hole up top, right? We're going to work those out very slowly and realign everything. To do that, I've got a bunch of little tools here. These are forceps. You can get these from Sly Designs if you would like doing impossible objects in bottles. We've got a whole set of tools that are available for you if you want to get into this. But otherwise, you can search the internet and find a bunch of stuff that'll probably suffice. These are just the ones that we've found that work best for doing this sort of project. Right? So this doesn't fit all the way to the end of the bottle, right? And if my card is at the end, right, I can grab my wire and pull it back towards me so I've got the reach I need to work on that. That's what I've done here. What I'm doing right now is when you put the weaver together, right? Sometimes you'll see that like if you want everything to be perfectly square between all the weaves, right? You just gotta shift the whole row a little bit. That's what I'm doing here to make it look as aesthetically pleasing as the intention of the Kirigami card is supposed to have. And I'll use my forceps, I'll pinch, right? I can use this curved area to push, to pull, to get things exactly where I want them to be. All right. So I flip the whole thing over if I want to work on the other side, because the deformation goes both ways because it was in this turn. So I'm trying to get it to lay flat this way, but I'm also trying to get it lay flat this way. The beauty of this is that we don't have to get it completely flat, like if it was coming brand new out of a deck. And the reason for that is because the glass of your bottle, uh, right, the index of refraction of glass, especially when it's not smooth, like here we on this one we have like these little grooves, I guess, so a drunk person has a better grip when they're pouring their drink. uh, it creates kind of a funhouse mirror effect of what's in there. But now I can see that that is indeed my card with a ring hanging off it. So we can see that in there really well, right? To the point that uh, it's not perfect, but it doesn't matter that it's not 100% perfect, right? You watching this are on a different level than a spectator is going to be, right? Because you have an interest in this as something that you know how the process works. Your brain interprets it differently and has a different expectation. Normal lay people see this and they're blown away, right? Because how did you do that, right? They think I did it, but in fact, right, when I'm working a bar, like I've done stuff, I put stuff under the bar. Say, we're going to get back to that in a moment, right? In reality, under the bar, let's put that up here. I've taken, you know, the infinity link and I've slid it down this way, you know, a meter away from me. And the other bartenders that are working there, they're also magicians, or at least assisting me in doing stuff. So I've taught them to do this, many other things, so that so that all the dirty work is being done off stage, right, out of my area. And people, they never consider that the other person that's just pouring drinks and serving them is actually working in cahoots with me, right? The best bar magic you'll ever see has people doing that for them. An incredible bar in Tokyo, like, fooled me badly because I had no idea that they were doing that. And then when I put it together, I was like, oh, that's incredible what you're doing. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? We just try to get it as perfect as we can, right? Now, in reality, I'm going to work on this for a bit, right? You don't want to watch this for hours as I try to smooth this out and make it absolutely perfect. But what I am going to show you is how to finish this off right now. And just know that I'm implying a great deal of patience with this. If you're giving this out as a gift, then take your time. There is no rush, right? The only reason there's any sense of urgency in what I'm doing is just to keep this video at a reasonable time in order for you to be able to watch it and understand the process of putting this together. We have this extra bit of wire that's hanging off, right, in order to keep our card suspended in the bottle, right? What I'd like to do is push the wire into the top of my cork, right? So the wire is going to come up into the bottom of the cork. So what I do is just take some wire and I kind of pre-drill a little hole in there with it. Right? I go about 2 centimeters deep, you know, a little more than a half an inch if there is that much space available for me to do this. Right? And then I'll place a dab of super glue right on that hole. So I place the super glue right on the hole, and now I will take my wire, I straighten it out a little bit, right, and I get a better estimate of where I want that to be, right? So right here where I'm pinching it is kind of the end of it. It's a little longer than you're going to see because the rest of that is going to go into the hole of the cork here. So I'm going to slide that in and I just let that sit there for a moment, let it dry. Ensure that everything is going to hold, and it should. Uh, by just pressing the wire into that cork, we're just making a hole the size of the diameter of our wire. But you know, cork, especially artificial cork, it's kind of self-healing, right? When we push it in, it just forces stuff out and then it'll close back on itself. So it's holding it pretty well. And you probably don't even need super glue, but that's not an issue I want to deal with at some point should it slide out of the cork, right? This is probably dry, this 10-second glue. So now I'll just press our cork back into the bottle. And now I've got an impossible object inside of a bottle. Of all these that I've done, the curve that exists in the card, the part that I don't get out, it will over time begin to go from the curved state to a little flatter, given the right conditions, right? I live in the desert where there's no humidity, so that might be a factor for it. If you're in Miami, high humidity place, it might stay curved forever. I don't know. I can't speak to that. So if you attempt this and have any feedback on how this works for you, please let us know in the comments or email us. You know, you can order all sorts of fun little tools and things to assist you in making a lot of different variations of these on our website, sly-designs.com. And we look forward to seeing your creations very soon because this plays very well. Again, thank you, and we hope to hear from you soon.